right. I'd like to call to order the Hatfield Township Board of Commissioners Workshop Meeting for February 10, 2021. Roll call.
President Zipfel.
Here.
Vice President Rogers.
Here.
Commissioner Andrus.
Here.
Commissioner Lees.
Here.
Commissioner Zimmerman.
Here.
So this, I'm going to take as chairman, I'm going to take a privilege to do the Pledge of Allegiance in honor of the passing of Pennsylvania State Senator Stuart Greenleaf, who passed away a little bit earlier today. We're going to have a moment of silence in his honor in a moment, but let's do the Pledge of Allegiance now. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United
States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
So as I just mentioned, very sad news that we received today is that the passing of former state senator Stuart Greenleaf. We're going to have a moment of silence in his honor, but probably not a single person at this meeting who he hasn't met or certainly had some significant impact on their life as having served us for over 40 years. Some years ago, we had Senator Greenleaf in our one of our meetings, and we honored him, and we noted some of his accomplishments. We'd be here all night if we wanted to, if we tried to do that. But let me reiterate some of the things we mentioned that evening a few years ago. He was first elected to the House of Representatives back in 1976, and then was elected to serve the 12th Senate District in 1978. He then went on to chair the Pennsylvania Senate Judiciary Committee for 30 years. He was a prime sponsor of more than 160 bills that were signed into law. And at that time, a few years ago, he had passed more legislation than any other member of Pennsylvania's 253-member General Assembly. He's the author of the Clean Indoor Act of 2008, Pennsylvania's Megan's Law, the Grandparent Custody Law, the Rails to Trails Act, and as you can imagine, many other pieces of significant legislation. And he was a tremendous advocate for Hatfield Township for really almost 40 years. Most significantly, though, and those of you who know him, you know that he was a true gentleman, and I can't express that enough. In a world certainly where we currently live in partisan, overly aggressive elected officials, Senator Greenleaf stood out for the manner in which he treated others, which was civility, dignity, and respect first and foremost. Quite frankly, I think we'd be lucky if we had more leaders like him. He will be sorely missed. I contacted his son earlier today. Family, as you can imagine, is very disappointed, but very happy that people are recognizing their father. Of course, his family and his thoughts are in our prayers. And so please join me in a moment of silence in honor of Senator Stuart Greenleaf. Thank you. All right, we're going to move. Senator Greenleaf would want us to jump. He's not one for fanfare. He would want us to jump right into our meeting tonight. So is there a motion for approval of tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Lees. I think it was a second by Commissioner Andrus. All in favor of approving tonight's agenda, the one that you see before you, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that is approved. We can move forward with this agenda. First item, citizens' comments. Any citizens' comments on agenda items only?
Mr. President, let me just jump in. All attendees, if you would like to speak, there is a hand raise feature that you can press. If I see a hand up, I will grant you access to the microphone. Mr. President, no hands are raised. I think you can proceed.
All right, we're going to jump right into our consent items. Is there a motion to enter into the record the consent items listed in your agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Andrus.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Zimmerman. Those items include the police report for December 2020, the North Penn Water Authority meeting minutes for December 15, the HTMA meeting minutes of December 8, and the HTMA monthly budget report for the month of December. With that, I'll call the question. All in favor of moving those into the record, say aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none, that is approved. We're going to jump right into committee reports. First is Planning and Zoning Committee, Commissioner Rogers.
Thank you, but we have nothing tonight.
All right. Jump right into our second committee, Public Works Committee, Commissioner Lees.
Yes, sir. I got a few things this evening. It's been a pretty brutal few weeks for the Public Works Department. They did a great job dealing with Winter Storm Orlena, and then had to turn around and come back out this past Sunday for another significant snow event, and they missed the Super Bowl. Montgomery
Oh, I
County,
didn't know that.
yeah, I missed it too. So, but Montgomery County did declare Winter Storm Orlena an emergency event, so there is likely chance the township will get reimbursed for at least a portion of the expenses from the storm. The township cost for that storm was roughly $11,000 in labor and $17,000 in materials such as rock salt. It would be great to get reimbursed for some of those costs. Commissioner Andrews and I had a very productive meeting with the Public Works Committee before tonight's workshop meeting. We discussed the 2021 paving projects. The preliminary list of roads and places to be paved appears to be all of the trails and the parking lot in School Road Park, as well as Foster Road, Peachtree, Diamond, Oak, Beach, Overbrook, and Berge Road from Penn Street out to Route 309. The commissioner's budget just shy of $900,000 for paving this year, so all of it will depend on where the bid numbers come in. We will have the bids ready for the board to advertise either later this month or early March, and then awarded shortly thereafter. All of the paving in School Road Park, along with a new digital sign, will make for a great facelift for most used park in 2021. Chief Tierney, Aaron Bieber, and I had a very productive town hall meeting with the residents from Walnut Street last month. When I was campaigning last year in that neighborhood, I heard a lot of feedback about the traffic islands on Walnut. We invited the residents to come and discuss the islands as a group before any decisions were made about moving forward. After a great discussion, we decided to work on making the islands more visible to traffic and to reevaluate this with the group of the residents again in 6 months. McMahon is providing recommendations, and we will look to install those in the coming month or so. That's all I have, Mr. President.
All right, that's a good update. Thank you very much, Commissioner Lees. Next, Parks and Recreation Committee, Commissioner Zimmerman.
Okay. The Winter Activities Challenge is still going on, and the deadline to submit your entries has been extended to Monday, this coming Monday, the 15th. We still have virtual yoga and Zumba in February and March. Yoga on Thursdays, Zumba's on Sundays. The Storytime series is continuing for February, and the featured book is the My Little Golden Book about George Washington, since it is his birthday month. Registration is $5 and includes the storybook and activity kits. And again, the children can read the stories and complete the activities individually, or you can do it as a family. You can pick up your books and activity kits between February 8th and the 19th. Email pictures of your family reading and completing the activities to storybook@hatfield.org by the 26th to be included in our Storytime series post. There's going to be a trivia night on the 18th. That's next week, next Thursday from 7 to 8. It's virtual, so you need to register, and you can participate either by Zoom or Kahoot, and the winning team can get a prize. We have another American Girl story for the month of February, featured Nania Mitchell. So she's apparently from Hawaii, so that would be an interesting story to read, in the 1940s, and if you know what happened in Hawaii in the 1940s. Registration is free. Once registered, again, pick up your kit by the 17th, and information for the video can be emailed to registered participants by the 19th. And then I think the rest of it, Aaron is going to take.
Thank you, Commissioner Zimmerman. I will take it from here. We do have a special guest tonight, and before I introduce you, I just want to sort of set the conversation so that obviously the commissioners are aware, but I'd like for the public to be aware of what we're going to be talking about tonight. I'm going to share a screen here, if it will allow me. All right, so commissioners, as you know, and we've talked about this in an executive session throughout the last several months.
Hey, Aaron, you're not sharing your screen right now.
Thanks, Commissioner. Let me get that rolling. Commissioners, as you know, is that better, Commissioner?
There
Yes.
we go.
Yes,
All right,
yes.
so as the commissioners know, because we've had these conversations in executive session related to real estate and leasing, we over the last 6 months, thanks to the commissioners, have received a donation of roughly 8 acres in Clemens Park to expand the park. And while we were looking at those 8 acres, we were thinking about what a good use of that would be, that could benefit the community, and at the same time, not necessarily impact the services that we provide as far as manpower and as far as other obligations. So where that conversation led us to a local group called the Garden of Health. And this is give you a sense of the park. So the new 7.8 acres is labeled Garden of Health there. The previous portion there outlined is our park, which we went through a very lengthy master planning process about 2 years ago. And I'm going to talk more about that after Carol. And after we talk about the Garden of Health, we're going to talk about our plans on moving forward with the master plan. But just to give everybody a sense on what we're talking about here. So the commissioners thought a good use of this property would be to bring in an organization like Carol's, which is the Garden of Health, to and I'm not going to steal all of her thunder, but to use that space and really make an impact on our community. And Carol, I'm going to introduce you and let you explain to the community and to those unfamiliar with your organization what you do, why you do it, who you are, if you don't mind introducing yourself to Hatfield Township, please.
Sure. Thanks, Aaron. Thank you for having me. So I am the founder of Garden of Health Food Bank. We got started in 2015. I started the organization after finding out that my daughter had celiac disease. And we had been volunteering with Keystone Opportunity Center since my kids were probably 6, 7, 8 years old. Military background, if not me, then who, is kind of how I was brought up. You helped if you could help, no matter what. So we learned that my daughter had celiac disease with volunteering at Keystone. We learned that there was very little, if anything, at the local food pantries that we would be able to eat as a family. We went through several years of trying to get her diagnosed. We had a very healthy diet compared to the standard American diet, but we're still struggling with health issues, which surprised me. Now I know why, but so I talked with the local pantries. I wanted to teach families how to grow their own produce, to provide more fresh produce for them. So we got started with Keystone Opportunity Center in 2015 with providing them with special dietary foods. So we do gluten-free, heart healthy, diabetic friendly. We are now doing vegan, shelf-stable food and foods free of the top 8 allergens. That's what we were doing in 2015. COVID made us shift a little bit, and we've changed our mission statement to now that our mission statement now states that we're providing healthy food for all, including those with dietary needs. So in 2015, we got started with 8 beds at Zion Mennonite Church and working with Keystone to provide the fresh produce and the special dietary foods to them. Quickly rolled out in 2019 or in 2016. We got started with a second garden at UCC in Telford. All of those beds were used with clients of Keystone to teach them how to grow their own organic produce. We give them the plants, the seeds, and the education, and then everything they grow is theirs to keep. It doesn't count against them with their SNAP benefits, and it doesn't count against them at Keystone. And we are finding with those clients that it's coming full circle. If they grow more than what they can handle as a family, they're giving it back to Keystone so that other families can benefit from what they're doing. In 2018, we took over an acre of land in Township. That was the one picture you saw that said Garden of Hope. The landowner actually named the garden. She just was like, I see so much hope here in this garden. So we stuck with that name there. As you see, we filled it with raised beds. There are 20 rows of raised beds for a total of 180 12-foot by 3-foot raised beds in there. Everything that is grown in there goes out to our community partners. We are now up to over 30 different community partners between food pantries, backpack programs, community meals, and we drop off directly to low-income seniors like at Dock Manors, Valley Vista, Grundy House, and some in Norristown. So when Aaron came to us, we loved the opportunity. We loved the idea. I've talked about how as a county, we need to take more control over our food and keeping it here in the county, not allowing it to go elsewhere, and also not becoming dependent on getting all of our fresh produce from local farms that donate, or we actually have a partnership with Country Fresh there in Hatfield, which when COVID hit, our donations from them totally stopped, and we have not received any from them since probably March or April of last year. Last year, we grew by 350%. We service both Bucks and Montgomery County. Currently, most of what we service is in Montgomery County, but we are growing into Bucks County. And we're at a point where we are actually having to turn down new organizations right now because we can't keep up with demand. Like prior to COVID, I ran this entire organization out of my house, started my personal minivan. I put 1,000 pounds of food from Country Fresh in the back of my personal minivan. In 2018, we bought our first cargo van. 2020, sorry. We got state funding. We bought a second cargo van, and we actually have funding to purchase a refrigerated truck that we've kind of put on hold for a little bit. We also then started a leasing at the Lansdale Business Center in July, and we've already kind of outgrown that space. We went from my house to 1,700 square feet, and now we're looking at an 11,000 square foot warehouse there in Hatfield that we're looking to split with 2 other organizations.
Thanks, Carol. Could you give the board and the community just a little sense on what you plan on doing with this property here at Clemens Park?
Sure. So we will, it will be a combination of things. So we will do some traditional farming straight in the ground. We will do raised beds because it's the easiest way for people to learn how to grow for themselves. And it's the easiest way to show people how simple it can be to grow on your own when you're doing the raised beds. One of the reasons we do raised beds is because you can maximize what you grow. So we do compact gardening. So we do not give a tomato plant a foot of growing, well, about a foot of growing space. In traditional farming, they would get about 3 feet of growing space. Around those tomato plants, we will then grow green beans, or we will grow other companion plants. So we really put in as many plants as we can. One that helps maximize our production, and it minimizes the amount of weeding that needs to be done. We also see being able to put in a patio, paver patio, where we could do small events. We could pull the community in and do kind of like farm to table things, nutrition classes, cooking classes, things like that. And if we got the approval from the township and funding, it would be really great to be able to have a greenhouse on the property so that we could actually grow year round.
Great.
Right now, I guess you're just you're at the whim of Mother Nature. What's your typical growing season?
Typically late March, early April through late October, middle of November.
Thanks, Carol. So commissioners, as we discussed privately, you know, what a great partnership this is. And by the way, Carol, I was thinking when you mentioned the one farm is called Garden of Hope, your Garden of Health, you know, maybe this is Garden of Hatfield. It sounds right. But
Hey.
It's I think a great partnership to use space wisely. That's going to help our community. in the region, and a great start to a partnership. So commissioners, just so you're aware, an action item will be coming your way for a formal lease for the property. Like we discussed, Kristen and her team are working on finalizing that, and Carol has seen a draft, and we're just tweaking a few of the and finalizing some details, and we'll move forward in formalizing that, commissioners. And then we're going to wait a little bit of time. We have a commitment and an obligation from Clemens Food Group, where the land came from. They have a big event in July of 2021. So Carol, as excited as she is, she has to pump her excitement brake.
2022. Isn't it
22.
2022? Yes.
You're right. So after that, she's going to go full speed ahead, but we sort of just have to wait a little bit until that. When an organization gives you 8 acres, you're sort of willing to to follow their rules from the beginning. So that's how this is going to proceed. Commissioners and Carol, thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah, Carol, thank you. Great partnering with you. This is a great cause, great thing you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Nice meeting you.
Nice
Yep,
meeting you.
fantastic.
Thank you, Carol. Great job you're doing for the community. Thank you.
Yes.
And Carol, if you could stick around, I want you to see some of the plans for what your neighboring park will look like, hopefully in the coming years.
Yes, absolutely.
So commissioners, we all know, let me share. So we're talking about the same park. It's Clemens Park Night. We talked about now Carol's group coming in to use the new space. And now let's look at the master plan that we went through, and several of you participated in this process. A few years ago, we reached out to the community. We invited the neighbors. We spent about 8 months planning on what we think Clemens Park could be. And this is based on all the feedback from our residents and stakeholders and Clemens Food Group and neighbors and commissioners and family members of commissioners, and a lot of really good feedback from everyone. So we'd like to now get moving. Sometimes things move a little too slowly in what we do. Just as a reminder to the community too, those that are listening, commissioners did a great job working with Pulte Builders, who's building the age-restricted development down the street at Clemens in 40 Foot. Pulte is committed to making a lot of these improvements. Pulte is committed to putting in the new driveway, putting in the bathroom, putting in the playground. So all of those improvements we have pledged by a local builder in conjunction with the land development project. However, those are tied to specific timeframes for when that will happen. The builder obviously has to make some money on the project before they're willing to spend it on these improvements. So it's going to take some years. So what we thought was, rather than just wait for that to happen, we're going to pursue a grant opportunity with through DCNR, which is the Department of Community and Natural Resources. We're going to use that commitment we have from Pulte as a local match. And we're going to try to get as much funding as we can to make those things happen earlier, rather than waiting for Pulte and the land development. So now that we're working with Carol, we think our application is going to look a lot better to the folks in DCNR. We're going to be coming in with nonprofit partnership. We're going to be not only building a playground and a public bathroom, but we're going to then be also working on the garden to help feed our community. So what we're thinking is a little bit of a tweak from what you just saw. Now this plan isn't as pretty. This is engineered drawings rather than from a planner. But what we're looking to accomplish maybe with this first round of funding is we do reroute where the road comes in now, goes through the basin, right, that we're all familiar with. There's no reason for that. That would be removed. This would all be naturalized or turned into a fishing pond. We're still working on those details, if that's even possible. And then put the new road into the park. With the red would be a nice playground for the neighboring kids. And then the black portion would be a parking area for Carol and her group for deliveries, and as well as for volunteers that could come, hopefully from our community, help and help with the farming and the raised gardens there. So we're hoping we can sort of put this together as a successful grant application and get this project moving a little quicker than what we had anticipated before. I know it's an important project for all of you, all of the commissioners and especially the neighbors. I hear from them often asking, when's this plan going to happen? So let's hope we can get that going. Commissioners, you'll see we'll have a resolution required to apply in the coming months. We're putting all the information together we're going to have our rainmaker, Anton, apply for us with Brian's help, who's going to do the design, and try to see if we can keep our streak going with grant funding. Mr. President, I think that concludes the Parks and Rec report. And Carol, thanks again for your time.
All right. Thank you again, Carol. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. You guys
Yep.
have a great night.
You
too.
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 You too.
Thank you. You too.
And I'm pretty confident that every commissioner on this Zoom meeting is excited to hear about Clemens Park moving ahead. So that's great news as well. So we're going to move into Public Safety Committee. We have a Calmer Fire Station update and capital plan update. As you can imagine, one of the other projects that we hear about that I've been asked about by many residents over the years is the status of the new Calmer Fire Station, since we as a board approved the land development application last year. So Calmer is still waiting for final approval for stormwater management plan from Montgomery County Conservation District. It already has the building designed, finished, and it's been shopping it around to different contractors, and we've learned that it's received some favorable prices, which is great news, and that's for the construction, while they're waiting for the approval for stormwater management. And Calmer is also in the process of finalizing its loan from some local banks for the cost of the construction. President Brian Seward and Chief Andrew Buckland, along with Commissioner Greg Lees. Thank you, Commissioner Lees, for all the hard work you're doing and the great job moving the project forward. And I've got my fingers crossed, but we're hoping to see some dirt moving at the site sometime in 2021, certainly in the next coming months. So we've got to very much have our fingers crossed on that project. So related to the new fire station, it's also time to update our capital replacement plan for the township established for both Calmer and Hatfield fire companies. Some years ago, I was a part of the original team who created the plan. And believe it or not, that's probably been almost 10 years ago. And the fund has given the township better oversight. This is the Fire Commission Fund has given the township better oversight of capital expenses for the fire companies, but has also created the added benefit of both fire companies and the township working together as a group. I'll tell you that many years ago, they worked very much like silos, and it was very difficult to move everything from purchases to other initiatives forward. So working as a group was a significant step forward. We built a great working relationship with both. I think we continue to have a great relationship with both Calmer and Hatfield. And we're making sure that the fire services are adequately funded to keep the residents of Hatfield safe. So the leadership from both companies are in a meeting with Aaron on Friday to begin updating that capital expenditure plan. And once they have a draft, they're going to meet with the Public Safety Committee, which is represented by me and Commissioner Lees. And of course, we'll bring back recommendations and any initiatives back to the board as a whole. So again, we're working together to update this important spending plan, and we're hopeful to have it finalized by the end of the year. That's a big component of what we do as far as fire protection in the township. So this is one of our bigger responsibilities, and it's time to update that plan. So it's not just something we need to do. It's something that we enjoy doing because it makes sure that we're adequately funded, and the three parties, us and the two fire companies, have good reason to keep working relationships moving in a positive direction. So that's the update for public safety. And I'm going to turn to Finance Committee, Commissioner Andrews.
Thank you, Tom. The finance report. The auditors have been at our township building this week, finalizing the 2020 township financial audit. Some of the early observations from Dave Bernhauser, our township finance director, are below. Thanks to deferment of some capital projects by the commissioners, expenses came in slightly under budget for the seventh straight year. Although our tax revenue remains strong, coming in at 99% collected for 2020, the township overall revenue came in under budget by roughly $290,000. This was partially related to the pandemic. We lost about $53,000 in apartment inspection fees because of public safety concerns. And another item not related to the pandemic is there are many of our residents who are disconnecting from their cable. So we're losing cable franchise fees. We lost approximately $83,000 last year for people cutting the cord and moving to streaming services. Another $43,000 was lost because interest rates dropped significantly on money market account holding township reserve funds. So there was some losses from last year. So we did pretty well on the revenue side, but lost a little bit. One expense item that came in well over budget by about $130,000 was for traffic signal maintenance. This was due to several major accidents involving trucks on Route 309. This is out of the township control, but we do expect to be reimbursed fully by the truckers insurance company, and that will improve the overall financial position when that happens for 2021. Overall revenue budget for general fund was 1.8 million, and we received 10.5 or 10.6 million. Overall expenses was budgeted for 10.9 million, and the actual expenses come in at 10.8 million. Not our best year, but given the circumstances, the township commissioners and staff did a great job in managing township's financial position through the challenging 2020 pandemic era. And that's all that I have. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for that update. All right, we're going to jump right into the township manager's report. Aaron.
Thanks, Mr. President. Some good news on Cowpath Road. And we have a nice visual here. If you've driven down the corridor in the last few days, we've got our the International Union of Operating Engineers doing some work for us in their apprenticeship program, clearing the land for the future home of Chief Tierney and his finest in blue, which we're excited about. This building actually is already down. These pictures were taken from a few days ago. That building's down, and we just have one building to go, which is the house. Getting a lot of really good feedback from our community. Excited to see this eyesore that has plagued our major corridor for the last 20 years. So much thanks to the commissioners for securing this property in the summer of 2020 and securing the ground so we can build a police department centralized in Hatfield Township and Hatfield Borough. And just a ton of thanks to former Commissioner Larry Hughes for coordinating the union group to come out at no cost to the taxpayers for the 5th straight time, our 5th building being demoed by the operating engineers 542 out of Fort Washington. They've come out now and have demoed 5 buildings, saving taxpayers at least $150,000 at least, and providing training for their members, building skills, which help them as well. So another really good partnership that has benefited Hatfield and the operating engineers as well. Exciting to see. You know, a lot of people reaching out with questions and comments, but feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. Thrilled that the commissioners decided to take this approach. You know, we sort of sat back and let the private sector redevelop the site, and that never happened. So we stepped in, and we're going to make that a state-of-the-art modern police facility for the best police department there is. So that's ongoing, and that site will be cleared. And then obviously we're going to take our time, and the commissioners will lead us through a process over the next few years of finding an architect and going through a design process and then building that facility in time. But for now, we clear it, we remove the eyesore, and we let it sit for now. So good stuff. You know, we're hearing a lot, commissioners, from residents, because as everyone knows in here, the work that goes into these projects, Cowpath and Orvilla specifically, and now this piece, but all in a matter of a few months, you see the road finished and being realigned, and then you see the buildings coming down. A lot of people are finally, you know, they're seeing the fruits of our years of discussions, our years of strategic partnerships, years of acquiring properties, and years of planning and grant funding and really incremental effort that now is seen by the community. And I know that the residents are very thrilled and excited, and I'm sure commissioners, you guys hear the feedback as well. So it's neat to see some of this stuff finally happen after talking about it for so long. On that same note then, commissioners, too, along that our most busy corridor there at Cowpath Route 463, we get 12 to 15,000 vehicles a day. The next project, and I'm going to have a better update for you next month. I was hoping to have it tonight, but we're still trying to finalize a few things. I was talking to Anton, our traffic engineer, just to remind everybody, in 2016, the commissioners were successful with just shy of $1 million grant from the federal government. It was part of the CMAQ program, which is the Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality Program, to synchronize all of the traffic signals on the 463 corridor, which is 40 foot and Cowpath Road. So there's 11 signals in that corridor. I know Commissioner Andrus asks me about this regularly. He pushed for it for years. The infrastructure's pretty much in. In the next few weeks, there's going to be some significant movement on some of the fiber optic cable. So for those of you who don't know, what's happening is fiber optic cable will be connecting all 11 of those signals together. So the township has the ability to control those signals, to implement new software, new technology to make them work better, with the ultimate goal of moving traffic faster through our busiest corridor. So now that Cowpath and Orvilla is essentially fixed, except for some cosmetic things in spring, this move will be happening also in the first half of 2021, and as well as what we just saw on Cowpath too. So huge $5 million plus worth of public improvements in that corridor are going to make an enormous impact on our community. So that's going to be happening. I'm going to give updates as we get closer to when that starts to function, but we're 95% there. And it's exciting to see that come out. Again, that's not one you're going to see tangibly, but you'll notice hopefully when you get to the doctors a little quicker, get to work quicker, or wherever you're going in the Hatfield, you get there a little quicker. So we're hoping you'll notice that by the end of this year as well. Commissioners, good news. Thank you, commissioners, for leading us and guiding us toward all these exciting projects.
That's great.
Aaron, can you just review again where that where the lights are going to start at and stop at along the corridor?
Sure, Commissioner Zimmerman.
Thank you.
I'm happy to. So the first signal, and I have some good visuals that I'll show when I have a more defined update, but it's Clemens and 40 foot all the way until Line Street and Cowpath Road. So essentially you're leaving Lowe's, you're taking a right onto Cowpath all the way till you get to Montgomery Township. All of those signals that you pass along that way will be synchronized and will be communicating with each other so traffic can move better.
Okay, thank you.
Aaron, if you could pass on for us a very big thank you to former Commissioner Hughes for lending us the trainees that he's brought on numerous occasions. Yet again, if you could thank him for us, we'd greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would second that one.
Yep.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
All
please.
right. Solicitor's report. Anything this evening from our solicitor?
All is well.
All right. No news is good news.
Yep.
Citizens' comments. Any citizens' comments?
So residents attending, if you'd like to speak, if you could press the hand raise function. All right, we do have a speaker, Mr. President. We have Tina and Bob who are, I'm going to unmute you. Tina and Bob, you should be, let's try this. You should be okay to speak.
Okay.
Yep.
Tina.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Tina.
Hi.
Hello,
Hey, Bob.
everybody.
Hi. We just wanted to thank especially the Public Works Department. They did a phenomenal job coming out and taking care of the roads, making sure that we are all able to move around during all this wonderful, fabulous snow that we've been having. I know a lot of people don't like it. We love it, but they really did a great job. And also about Senator Greenleaf, what sad news to hear. But I also wanted to add that there's a lot of things that people don't know about Senator Greenleaf. And one of the things was he was a very prominent and active protector of making sure that animals in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania were safe and cared for properly. I personally have worked with him over the years on a lot of animal legislation in Harrisburg, and he was a phenomenal man to work with and phenomenal person to be around, always positive and courteous, and really was forceful in helping us get a lot of the protective animal laws that we now have in Pennsylvania. So he will be sadly missed, and just our sympathy to his family.
Well said, Tina. Very well said.
Well, thank you.
Mr. President, Tina and Bob, I'd like to thank you for the email that you sent last month after the meeting with the photos. I apologize. I didn't see it until a day or two later, and I forgot to send you an email to thank you, but I wanted to thank you now that you're here. I wanted to thank you for sending that. We really appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure. I just thought you guys should see what y'all look like from this end. And you all looked great, so no worries.
That's always good to hear. All right. Any other citizens' comments?
That's all we have tonight, Mr. President. No other hands are raised.
All right. Anything else for the good of the order from anybody? Then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Andrus. I think it was a second by Commissioner Zimmerman and Vice President Rogers and Commissioner Lees. I think everybody was in.
Yeah, we all did it.
I think so. I think I heard Chief even jump in and say that
Yes.
he was seconding that motion. So all right. With that, I'll call the question. All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Opposed? Hearing no opposition, we are adjourned. Thanks for coming out, everybody, and we will see you in a couple of weeks.
Be careful out there with the snow.
Yes.
Yes,
Thank you.
tonight, right? Yeah.